Hey, Josh here, and this is how the USA wiped out Iran's entire Air Force. On February 28, 2026, Operation Epic Fury explodes into life. US and Israeli forces begin military operations against the Iranian regime. After weeks of buildup, hundreds of US aircraft alongside 200 jets from the Israeli Defense Forces take to the skies. Details remain extremely hazy, but what is known is that Israeli aircraft were scrambled in ways that masked their intention. While the US attacks from the south and Israel attacks from the west, Israeli jets are taking circuitous routes, flying out to sea before looping through other nations' airspace. They then converge for a massive, tightly coordinated time-on-target strike on Iran. First, the Air Armada has to take down Iran's ability to shoot them down. Iran has been famously wary of Western air power and thus has an extensive air defense network. However, Israel's 12-day war against Iran in 2025 shows that Iran's air defenses are at least locally suppressed by modern Western equipment. Iran's air defense network includes the Bavar 373 surface-to-air missile system, an indigenously produced version of Russia's S-300. The Bavar 373 is Iran's flagship long-range air defense system. For threats at a low to medium altitude, Iran fields the Mersad and Qadr surface-to-air missile systems. The Qadr is a mobile version of the Mersad, designed to relocate quickly and ambush enemy aircraft in unexpected locations. Despite numerous air defense systems, Iran's air defense network was itself widely considered to be brittle, with numerous points of failure that could cripple regional efforts to defend the strikes. During the 12-day war, Israel had achieved full air superiority in a matter of days, allowing them to operate with impunity even over Tehran itself. This shocked global onlookers who had long worried about the capabilities of Iran's much-touted air defenses. However, the Air Armada can't take any chances, because while F-22s, B-2 bombers, and F-35s can likely operate freely over Iran, the bulk of Allied power was in the form of fourth-gen aircraft. To kill Iran's Air Force, first its air defenses needed to be destroyed. The attack begins with a massive cyber operation from Cyber Command and Space Command, targeting Iran's sensors and communications. Rather than directly attack individual targets, the cyber operation instead targets weak chains in Iran's digital infrastructure. This degrades the regime's ability to communicate or establish a clear sensor picture. The goal of a cyber operation isn't to completely blind and deafen an enemy. It's very doubtful even the US's capabilities are that extensive. Instead, the US sought to confuse, delay, and slow Iran's ability to respond. Individual air defense units would rely on local sensors rather than be fed networked data. Local commanders are unable to maintain the real-time communications required to coordinate defense at a regional scale. The US effectively turns one big problem into many smaller problems. The first official shots of the war come from the Tomahawk missiles and ground-launched standoff weapons, such as the Army's new Precision Strike Missile or PrSM missile. Built to replace the MG-140 Army Tactical Missile System or ATACMS, the PrSM is smaller, which allows a HIMARS to carry two. Despite that, it packs the same punch and can travel further and faster. Tomahawks are launched from U.S. ships, and it's believed also at least one converted Ohio-class submarine. Redesigned to carry cruise missiles, the Ohio-class Arsenal ship carries 154 Tomahawks, enough to destroy entire enemy armies. But of the hundreds of Tomahawks fired, one grabbed the world's attention. A Black Tomahawk was captured being fired by a U.S. ship. The image was officially released by CENTCOM, and it is a clear signal. The U.S. wants the world to know it's firing a brand new type of missile. The Maritime Strike Tomahawk has the capability to target enemy ships, and the black coating is likely radar-absorbent material meant to help it evade enemy fleet defenses. The initial standoff attack is aimed at fixed radar sites or mobile units, which satellite and other recon confirmed are in fixed positions. These would initially be the lower-frequency wide-area surveillance radars, designed to give first warning of an incoming air attack. By flying low to the ground, Tomahawks can evade detection and reduce alert time for Iranian commanders. In a video, an Iraqi captured a swarm of Tomahawks flying by just at 100 feet overhead. A portion of these missiles are aimed at high-frequency radar arrays and the missile batteries of air defense systems. With long-range radars blinded, Iranian air defense has little time to react to incoming missile swarms. So far, all indications show that their defenses failed to intercept the targets that they were built to stop. Next on the Missile Barrage's chopping block are command and control nodes and airfields hosting alert fighter aircraft. These targets are hit with a mix of Tomahawks and PrSMs. The PrSM's heavy payload is perfect for punching massive holes in runways, keeping enemy aircraft grounded. Strikes on command and control centers appear extremely successful. After the 12-day war, Iran drilled to respond faster and on a larger scale. Yet in this new conflict, their initial response is fragmented and it fails to achieve any real strategic effect. This is despite the country having thousands of missiles and potentially tens of thousands of drones. It's known that Iran had lowered command authority for retaliation to lower echelon commanders. It was a critical vulnerability exploited by Israel during the 12-day war. However, the scattered nature of Iran's initial retaliatory attacks indicates that the US and Israel struck command and control centers and networks with such precision that commanders were incapable of coordinating at scale. Instead, individual commanders appeared to respond as they saw fit, leading to a wide number of attacks. It's not enough to overwhelm air defenses or seriously damage well-protected targets. While naval support activity Bahrain is hit multiple times and suffers significant destruction, the facility had already been largely abandoned by the US, leaving it lightly defended. Against well-defended targets, Iran largely fails to penetrate missile defenses in any meaningful way. The world is on edge and events are moving fast, so make sure to like, share, and subscribe to get the latest developments, or just to distract yourself while the chaos unfolds. Next up is the penetration of Iran's airspace by stealth platforms. With key air defense sites damaged or destroyed, fleets of F-35s, F-22s, B-2 bombers, and low observable drones begin to clear a path for the non-stealthy aircraft. Israel and the US's stealth fleet focus on mopping up targets that may have survived the initial missile barrage, carrying out strikes against less deadly threats. Secondary command and control targets are precisely targeted by stealth fighters, while B-2s carry out still classified strike missions, likely aimed at destroying Iran's most defended targets. The F-22 likely provides air cover for F-35s and B-2s. It's a stealth assassin in the sky, daring any Iranian fighters to take off. Meanwhile, F-35s carry out follow-on strikes against air bases, precisely hitting individual aircraft with small-diameter bombs and destroying hangars where planes are stored and ready for action. Dozens of Iranian aircraft are destroyed on the first day. The inability of Iranian air defenses to shoot down a single aircraft seems to deter the Iranian Air Force from trying the job themselves. What we do know about the Iranian Air Force is that it did take part in retaliation attacks and nearly caused a disaster for Allied forces. Flying at just 80 feet off the ground, two Iranian Su-24 attack aircraft nearly reach Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, America's largest military base in the Middle East. Just 2 minutes from their target and having completely evaded air defenses, the Su-24s are discovered by a pair of Qatari F-15s and promptly destroyed. At this point, limited conventional aircraft begin operations inside Iran. According to CENTCOM, F-16s, F-18s, and EA-18G electronic attack aircraft take part in strikes against Iran's integrated air defense systems. These jets focus on mobile defenses that would have sprung up in response to the initial attacks, and they weren't targeted by the missile barrages. Inbound aircraft employs an HTS pod or a harm targeting system, which lets them detect enemy radars and precisely locate them. It's an incredibly dangerous mission, but it is one that the US is likely the best in the world at, given its reliance on air power. New generation electronic warfare pods are likely to be used in Iran, providing a real-world opportunity to test them in battlefield conditions. The first targets are Iran's large fleet of F-4 Phantoms, left over from the original revolution. A hunt for the nation's small fleet of Russian MiG-29s also begins. These newer jets present the greatest threat to Allied air forces. A trainer delivered to Iran as it prepared to acquire more modern Russian jets, the Yak-130 can pose a threat to bomber or strike aircraft. The Israel F-35, however, destroyed the Iranian plane shortly after takeoff. Perhaps the most painful aspect of the destruction of Iran's air forces, though, is the hunt for its fleet of F-14 Tomcats. Purchased right before the revolution, the F-14 still poses a significant threat, even today. Designed to intercept Russian bombers threatening American carrier groups, the F-14's high speed could pose a huge safety risk to support aircraft and even US-Israeli fighters. It's not clear if any of Iran's F-14s remained operational before the war. The country has been cannibalizing them to keep a shrinking fleet flying. But it seems none make it into the sky as Israeli strikes destroy the jets on the ground. With the US having dismantled all decommissioned F-14s to deny spare parts, the once vaunted Tomcat is now officially extinct. We know that by day 3 of the war, Iran's air defense network was largely destroyed. This is evidenced by the fact that combat jets were increasingly being seen carrying JDAMs and other non-standoff munitions. With air superiority established, Allied aircraft no longer have to engage targets at large ranges and can afford the risk associated with delivering attacks with more conventional weapons. The mopping up of Iran's air force begins in earnest. High-flying strike aircraft use small-diameter bombs to destroy individual aircraft on the ground one by one. Everything from transports to fighters to trainers are targeted in a systematic effort to eliminate any remaining threat the Iranian Air Force might pose. The 2-week hunt has been so thorough that it's believed Iran could take decades to have a significantly sized air force again. It's likely Iran's air force could have been destroyed on the ground even faster, but higher priority goes to seek and destroy missions targeting missile launchers and drone facilities. In an operation reminiscent of Desert Storm's Scud hunt, Allied air forces hunt down and eliminate Iranian launchers with such efficiency that by day 4, launches drop by 90%. Iran's missile cities proved to be a massive liability. These were designed with the loss of air superiority in mind. A place where missiles can be safely stored and launched while protected deep under the earth. While it's difficult to locate some of these facilities, America's space-based surveillance network quickly fixes locations. Ballistic missile launches light up like a spotlight in a dark room on infrared surveillance satellites. U.S. air power begins striking deeply buried missile bases. Rather than destroy the bases outright, the attacks focus on entrances and exits, trapping launch vehicles inside and collapsing the shafts used for firing missiles. Much of Iran's missile stockpile isn't destroyed, but it is inaccessible, buried under tons of debris. Then there's the suspicion that America's airborne stealth assassin, the B-2 bomber, has been involved in the attacks using the now famous GBU-57B massive ordnance penetrator. First dropped on Iranian nuclear facilities during the 12-day war, evidence suggests the GBUs might have been used again on at least one more site. Satellite imagery of the Talagan 2 site shows a pattern of 3 impacts closely matching the pattern from the earlier strikes. The facility had been reinforced with concrete and buried under tons of earth as a direct result of America's strikes in 2025. Satellite imagery shows that this may have been insufficient to protect it. As America's air war evolves and the threat of Iranian air power shrinks to zero, air operations have expanded to an even greater scope. As of the writing of this script, Allied air power is now striking targets as small as Basij checkpoints. The Basij are Iran's government-backed militia and were instrumental in the suppression and killing of tens of thousands of protesters in the build-up to this war. Despite the losses of several drones, the targeting of targets as small as road checkpoints indicates that Iran's air force and its air defenses are well and truly destroyed. At best, the nation only poses a small threat from surviving and mobile air defenses, which can be hard to locate in advance. If you want to see the full picture of how these operations could escalate, check out our video "This is how World War III starts: USA versus Iran," or click on this video instead.